And but I definitely got some good ideas from it. And, I haven't posted on my Instagram page. It's been almost a year, I think. Like, I'll comment, but I don't post my own.
Yeah.
Because I can't decide. I haven't decided why I'm posting on Instagram and what that does for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think the point of that book is all about intentionality.
Right.
So if you can't find the intention for Instagram, it might not be the platform for you. I have no personal social media presence at this point. Like, I have a Facebook page, but I haven't posted anything but like occasional business announcements to it since January. I don't put any of my family stuff, nothing.
I don't post on Facebook. And in fact, so I'm in the Rancho Gordo Bean Club. Everybody laugh. I'm in the Rancho Gordo Bean Club, and they have a private online group for Rancho Gordo Bean Club people. And it is a spectacular place. And if it weren't for that and a couple of birding groups I'm in, I would get rid of Facebook. But I just those few. But so I've unfollowed like all the friends, and I've unfollowed so much, so that really the only thing that comes up, other than of course what Facebook thinks I should want to see,
right,
are like my birding and my Rancho Gordo group. Because
it's just I really would love to take my business page off of Facebook, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought, and of course that means that I have to keep my personal page active. But
in order to maintain the business page.
Yeah, they won't let you separate them. But like I said, I haven't posted anything.
Which business page is it? The Parris house that you have on?
It's all of them. I've got Parris House Woolworks on there. I've got Sunset Haven, which is my Airbnb lake cottage. Not too many followers on that. But I've had several, and it's really the Parris House Woolworks one that keeps me from taking the whole thing off of Facebook.
I definitely am still on Facebook personally, and with my quote unquote business, but I don't really ever go to my business page on Facebook, because anything I do, I just do it on Instagram, and then it automatically puts it in my Facebook feed. So I don't.
I'm doing that. Yeah,
I'll see that like people commented or liked something, but unless I see a comment that I need to address or something, I don't worry about it, because my following's not the same as yours. So
we have, I guess, about 3,500. So it's not huge.
But there's a demographic, I think. That's one reason I won't go off of Facebook right now, in a way. Well, I use it for some, like, that's how I get all my local news. Like we don't have a print newspaper in town. We have a digital one. And so any of the scuttlebutt about local issues all happens within these Facebook groups or on the news on Facebook. But my parents are on Facebook. So, and family, like other families. So that's how we've come to sort of communicate and share stuff in some way.
Well, if you ever want to get off of it as a family, my family platform is Discord.
Yeah, my son is on Discord because he's a gamer. He's a 12-year-old gamer. And he knows more about Discord.
We use Discord for, like, we're chatting back and forth as a family, all of us, like, how many? I guess 10, 12 of us all day, like all day, every day.
Yeah, my husband's on another platform too. I can't, because he's wrapped up in a lot of local politics. And so they've taken a lot of their conversations off of the Facebook, and they have another kind of platform that's sort of similar to Discord. I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to text him. And
I know
that's,
Ellen uses WhatsApp with her family.
no, it's
'cause-
not what's one I hadn't heard of. And that's how, and it seems to behave sort of like something in between texting and Twitter type thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
Discord
something.
is, I mean, Discord's really conversational and you can post photos and GIFs.
You can?
and
I didn't know you could do
video.
that on Discord. Okay.
Mhm. We do. So,
And I
Yeah,
know
I think-
people who just do like big text groups too. They just do.
yeah, I don't love texting.
I
Yeah.
think that's why my husband, they got this group going instead, because he was part of these text chains that were happening all the time and his phone was constantly
Blows your
buzzing.
phone up.
Yeah.
Yeah. JC was saying she had just finished reading, or she finished reading, oh, help me out, JC.
Digital
I know.
minimalism.
Yes.
Digital Minimalism,
Okay.
that book that I have put up, and it's a great book.
It is. And it wasn't like a totally new thing for me. It's, I've gone back and forth with my Instagram. Why am I posting? And there are definitely things like I definitely, like, I get up in the morning and I do Wordle and phrasal every morning. That's just but then I could get hooked on an Angry Birds game like that. And so I've been drawing a line where if it's educational, AKA Wordle,
Right.
or Wordle, which is a geography one, countries of the world, I still do it. But if it isn't educational, like I do the LA Times crossword every day, I'm a word nerd.
Yeah, me too.
And I do some word games sometimes on Merriam-Webster's site.
Wow.
Like I allow myself those, but nothing else. And my Instagram, I'm just torn on it because I like seeing things on Instagram. I like seeing what other people are doing. And I feel like part of me thinks I should be posting because I get that from other people. So I should be participating.
I don't know. I mean, I'm a lurker on Facebook now. Like I don't post on my personal page at all. And so, but I still, every once in a while, go through the feed. And if I see something like a friend of mine has done something that's really cool, I'll hit like or whatever, but I don't post anymore. And at first I thought, oh, I wonder if this is really fair, kind of like what you're thinking. But then I was like, it is. It's like everybody's personal choice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I can support whatever good news they're sharing without also posting myself. Like my grandchildren are not on, my children aren't on Facebook. So my grandchildren are certainly almost never, they have some barely active accounts and some of them are off completely.
Yeah.
And so there are almost no pictures of my grandchildren on Facebook. I see people posting pictures of their grandchildren constantly. And I'm just kind of like, that is not something I'm going to do, especially since their parents are uncomfortable with it.
And I've moved towards posting as my kids have gotten older. I don't post as much about them, and their last name is different from mine, and I never post their name.
Yeah.
So that we just keep it. But yeah, I've moved away from posting stuff about them, and my Instagram, my personal Instagram is pretty minimal now. I put stuff on there, but not that often.
Yeah. I mean, I
It's
used
an
to
interesting
post.
question because my other one, my Squirrel's Nest Textiles one, is more because I just want to have, I wanted a presence, but I also wanted a feed that was going to be 100% about art. Like I didn't want to have that feed mixed up with my personal feeds. I wanted to be able to go to my Squirrel's Nest one and be able to just scroll through and see other people's work and just feed the algorithm to keep sending me just stuff so I could see other people's work and understand.
Yeah, and that's what
And
I
that
did.
I like, you know, that I make sure to like stuff because I want to make, sometimes I'll look and be like, oh, I should like Ellen's thing. Oh, right. You know, so that
Right.
it keeps feeding my algorithm because I like to see what people are doing.
See, yeah, and that's how I set up my Instagram originally. But it's gotten kind of, I should probably go through and do a good editing again of who
Yeah.
I'm following and things, but like just at lunchtime. So NPR is no longer using Twitter, and
I love that.
Oh,
That reminds me, I
really?
need to turn.
yes, I
I'm not
don't
on Twitter.
tweet,
My
but I
husband
am
is,
still on Twitter, but I never tweet. But I use it kind of as a content aggregator.
yeah.
And, you know, now all the it's stuff from NPR says, you know, here's the ways you can follow us. And one of the ways that is listed first is Instagram. And I
follow them on Instagram. I actually
do
never
too.
followed them on Facebook, but I picked them up on Instagram and I really like the way they post stuff.
I killed my Twitter account the day Elon Musk took over, and that was it. And I had been on it for over a decade. I was like, okay,
I've never been on it.
see, and I stayed on it because there was I don't know, to me, it was kind of like watching an MBA case study happening. Like that's kind of, you know, if you do an MBA program, case studies are a big thing. And I was like, oh, this is watching a case study in real time.
That's true. I hadn't thought of that because I don't have an MBA. My husband does, but I have an undergrad in business, and we used to do the case studies too.
Yeah.
It is interesting from that perspective.
Yeah. So I am still on Twitter, although I look at it less and less and less. But no, NPR announced today, no more.
That's awesome.
It sounds like they're giving them a chance to kind of change some things, but right now I think they have 52 Twitter feeds or something, and they're not posting to any of them.
Right. And they're saying individual journalists who are employed by NPR can continue their personal.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's the official ones that are.
Yeah, they've had it. They're just, you know.
I don't blame them.
Musk is a psychopath.
Yeah.
Like a nut bar. Look at those kids' names. I'm sorry, but you know.
Wait, what are the kids'
open-minded? It's like, give me a break.
Wait, his kids' names? I'm so what
Yeah,
are
They're like not real words.
Oh, excellent.
Like they're just like, I don't know
numbers and letters.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
No.
Oh, what a
Or at least that's what he's put out into the press. The
Well,
kids
that-
might have
yeah.
they
Their
might
names
have
are
real
probably
names.
Fred and Sam or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, this is a good discussion because I'm so hot and cold with social media in terms of my business. So I'll go kind of cuckoo and post a bunch of stuff and think, yeah, I'm going to keep, you know, da, da, da. And then I think, why am I bothering? And I stop. So I'm very, very inconsistent. And I actually don't even know, or I'm not confident, I guess, with how to really own it. Like, you know, I'm sure I'm in a gallery. Yeah, that's great. But I would like to get some commissions. I would like to do, you know, get some independent, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you, what are your people's philosophy on building or supporting?
I personally think social media is extremely useful for business purposes. I don't use it for strictly personal purposes, although my North Atlantic Fiber Arts Instagram is more personal than my Parris House Woolworks one. I just think it's a really useful networking tool. I don't even know how many leads or contacts or things like that I've made over. Parris Household Works has been on Facebook since 2013 and on Instagram for a long time. And then I just put North Atlantic Fiber Arts up last year because it's relatively new, but I don't have a personal Instagram. But I do think for business, I have gotten a lot out of it for business, which is why, as much as I really want to take my business off of Facebook, the more I look at it, the more I realize I can't.
So
Dan Fitzpatrick talks about using like Instagram. Like if you think, oh, I would like to be in a gallery, or I would like to have some of those opportunities, but you're not there yet, or you don't know how to make that happen. One of the things you can start with that she has talked about is you have an audience.
That's
You
right.
get your Instagram and you can say, oh, I want to be in a gallery, and how many people show up in that gallery in the time that your work is there versus the audience that you can have through like Instagram.
yeah, that's done 24/7.
Right.
Right. And not, oh, people who, at a gallery, well, it's only people who are physically going to get to that gallery.
Yeah, and that relationship's a personal, I find anyway, a business / relationship thing. And that's not how it's, I don't know, but I'm just not sure how to, the best way to consistently post. Like some people say, post work in progress, post something personal, not personal, but a walk or whatever, post a finished piece. Like finished pieces, work in progress, finished pieces, there's sort of a formula they say. I'm just not sure. I'm shy, basically.
I personally, like, I've never used a formula for my social media. I know people are like, oh, you should post this many reels and blah, 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 blah. And I just post whatever's on my mind. And it's worked to kind of give, I think, my social media platforms a certain, they're a reflection of me. And which I think is important.
Yes, that is, yes.
But there's not some hidden intent or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but I think the other caveat with social media is everybody needs to have a website. Like,
yeah, that I don't have.
Unfortunately, with social media, you can develop a really strong presence on social media, and then that social media platform can decide that they're going to change the algorithm, or they're going to put in rules that you don't want to abide by, or like they have total control over that platform. And then if that's the only platform you're on and you don't have something standalone that's yours,
True.
then you are at a disadvantage.
I think that makes, because I tend to think of Instagram as like a networking thing. If and when I'm ever at a place where I really want to start to have my stuff be seen, to be considered for something, then you start sharing other people's work, and you start doing, like, I'll promote your work and maybe you'll promote mine, or I'm going to follow this gallery, or I'm going to follow this curator, and which I already do to a certain extent just because I'm curious, but I see it more as that. But then I think you're right, Beth. I think then you do have to have a website to back it up, so that then, if aside from what the social media company might do, but then if you're making these networks and someone wants to see more about you, or they want to see your whole portfolio, then they go to your website and they see the real deal. Right.
I mean,
I treat it more as like networking. Like for me, it was initially like learn about this community, get inspiration, and then it helps me like network with people like you, Beth, and then get, start learning about other opportunities. So it helps because then you just keep making these connections.
Right.
So in that way, I feel like you have a presence on there, Nancy.
Pardon?
I feel like you have a presence on there.
Oh, do you?
I follow you anyway.
Oh,
yeah, me too.
Thanks.
So
yeah,
I have to step out for a bit. I have to go pick up my kid.
Okay.
I'll log out and log back in.
All right. Yeah, you know, I think with a website, of course, you have to use your social media and any other means you have to drive traffic to it.
Yeah,
Um,
good point. And
you
to
know,
say like, hey, check out, I've just updated my website. Just got some great
Yeah.
new photos from @Dawn Hall. Please check out, yeah, or whatever.
yeah. So they
Yeah.
kind of work, I think they kind of work together.
Mhm.
But I think we always have to be prepared for social media platforms to fail us.
Yeah.
You know, like Twitter may or may not be around in 5 years. I don't know at this point.
No, and
So
that's why they like I took B school years and gazillion years ago, and I follow it kind of, but I don't, right? You know, Marie Forleo. Anyway,
mhm,
that's Deanne Fitzpatrick's thing, right? And that's where she's made a lot of her professional. I think they've got some masterminds in there in that out of that. So like Uppercase Magazine, she's in a mastermind with those people. So they take turns, like Uppercase will feature Deanne in their magazine. She'll put a huge spread in her newsletter about them. And so it's Create magazines in that too. So
Yeah.
Dad will teach a class for that gal, whatever her name is. You know, they're all working together. And that's from Marie Forleo's
Right.
B school, right? But in B school, like, and I mean, you're saying exactly it. I know where you're heading with this, Beth. You need to have like a blog, a list, right? An email list that you communicate with people.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So-
newsletter, I don't know if they say this in that
Yeah,
program, but
newsletter, yeah.
newsletter is your most effective tool you have because it's going to people who specifically signed up who want your message. It's not like at the mercy of an algorithm. Like
Exactly, yes.
it's
yes.
going directly into their inbox, and if they want to read it, they'll read it, and it's right there.
Yeah.
And you have total control over it. So
Do I do that?
newsletters
used
are
to.
great.
But I think like what yesterday's conversation was really good for me to click that exercise at the beginning with the words was amazing. And that really gelled for me, like what I'm going to say in a blog this next week. Hey, you haven't heard from me since COVID. Lots has changed, you know, blah, blah, blah. And in my wording on my Instagram and all that, my profile, I'm going to put about the prairies, the stories, the spirit, and
Yeah.
the beauty, you know, or the hidden or whatever. Yeah. So I'm going to put spirit, start putting spirit out there because that's really the core. But yeah, like I have to start writing and sending out. Do you send out a newsletter?
I send one out. I try to send one out every 2 weeks. I was trying to send one out every week and I could not keep up with it. And now I'm trying to send one out every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I do send one out fairly regularly. I don't have a huge email list. It's maybe about 550 people. But I know if I were more consistent with it, I could grow that. I use Constant Contact, but you know, I started with MailChimp, which is free up to a certain number of subscribers.
I've got Aweber and I use it. It's free now because I had Qigong, like that kind of thing, and my nutrition. I just whittled it down to one. So,
Yeah.
and then this will be one more element to throw at them. But yeah, I think business is an important part. And then, you know, there's a part of me, right? Like today, I was thinking, oh, what I should do this afternoon is scrub that thing off and load it up and do that. And then I thought, no, you know, I don't want to think about selling stuff right now. I'd like to think more about just playing and creating and enjoying and just being with it. You know,
Yeah.
to be honest, I don't mean this to sound like haughty or whatever. I'm not in it for the money. You know, I spent a ton of money creating that stuff. Do I get it back? Doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like I'm like bottom liner. I mean, it's a lovely treat. Don't get me wrong, you know, but I find, and this is really truth telling here, gals, after 2 days, it's ego. You know, oh God, I've only got 3 freaking red dots. Eeks, right? You know, like that. And then
Yeah.
See, and I think for me, so there's a gallery I'm in a small town, and there's a gallery here. She focuses mainly on local artists.
Mhm.
And I had some work there. I sold one piece. But she has, which I understand, I was a business person. I get it.
You
She
do
has
get it.
rules about how like I had to have an interview with her and everything, and that was fine. And then one of my pieces had to sell in the first 30 days,
Oh my God.
which it did, because I did only very small things for her. And then the second 30 days, nothing sold. And so then she wasn't interested in the pieces that were there, but if I wanted to create some new things, but then she wanted me to create things because now we're getting into the fall in terms of the time of year. And she wants stuff that could have a holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Theme.
So she's like commodifying the work.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that isn't what, like, I own no Christmas hooked I've never hooked a Christmas anything for myself. Why would I do it for somebody else?
Right.
Yeah.
Like right. So, so I don't have anything there now. Like, I'm done there. I would like to do something else, but I don't know what that is because I don't want to end up in that same situation again. And like at lunchtime, I was just reading our local art association. I didn't renew my membership this year, although I still get their newsletters. And they are fine art. Fine art, like they say they're everybody. But, the May meeting, plein air event. They have a show right now in town. And the details for the show, what your work had to be, I was like, okay, well, that's not any of my work. So I guess I won't be participating. Like, they're fine art. You paint, you do something in the fine arts. So then I feel like, okay, well, I don't really like, that isn't the right niche for me. And so do I really even, like, I wouldn't look at my Instagram as a business because I'm not,
Yeah.
You don't have to be. That's the bottom line. You don't have to be.
That's right.
Well, and not that I don't want to be. Like if the situation at the local gallery was different, I would be happy to have some things there. And I think there are some artists that she gives more leeway to.
Yeah,
but as a new artist to her, and maybe this was just the price I needed to pay, and I wasn't willing to pay it.
Right.
Well, it does sound like just the fact she'd say if you don't sell anything in the next 30 days, you have to build a presence. You have to become part of that community, if you will, or whatever. So people, perhaps they begin to look forward to what I wonder what she's made now, whereas if you're just brand new, you have an opportunity to build that following.
Right. And, I'm glad she took a chance with me because, that was one of the things that she asked is, where are you selling your work? And, I wasn't selling my work anywhere. I had donated some things for fundraisers already and some of that kind of thing. So, like, I don't have any hard feelings with her. She's a great lady, but it just wasn't a fit for me. And so now I feel like I don't know how I would find a better fit.
Well, I mean, and that is what the online world can get for us, though, is, if, it's different because it's like more the retail side of things. But if I had to build a, you know, pattern kit and supply company in my local area, it would never have worked. So instead, we ended up shipping all over the US instead. You know, we just really leaned on the online. And there are artists who operate that way too, for finished pieces, where their, you know, their audience is whoever is seeing their work on their website and their social media and all of that.
Right. There's a rug hooker who does that. She does a lot of primitive stuff. And she'll post, and you know, almost always it's already spoken for. Like, she seems to hook what she likes to hook, and
Oh,
she obviously has
yeah.
an audience who likes her work. I don't know how you get there, but
Yeah.
I think it just takes a lot of time. You know, it can take a lot of time, and I think the marketing and the social media and all of that, it has to be real consistent. Like, you got to be willing to really, you know, get your work out there really consistently. One thing that I noticed is, you know, I've started to apply for some like residencies and stuff on the art side of things, and they want my website, they want my Instagram, they want all
Artist
that.
statement.
They want to see all that stuff.
Mhm.
So I think the fact that these places are asking for those things tells me that I need to keep doing it.
Mhm.
Yeah. And even like other things, like, you know, I joined the Maine Writers and Publishers Alliance. They wanted to see my website.
Mhm.
Gosh, you guys are still talking on this.
Yeah, we're still talking on this because it's actually a really good subject. This is the kind of thing that we talk about in the, which I guess we're doing tomorrow. Is tomorrow night is Biz Studio Chat, I think.
Oh,
It's
I
Thursday,
can't.
isn't
I'm
it?
still on this search committee thing, so.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
what day is this? Oh yeah, it's tomorrow. Yeah, it is tomorrow.
Yeah, it's tomorrow night at 7 Eastern. So these topics come up a lot. And the thing is that there never seems to be definitive answers. I mean, I think the art and creative world is extremely difficult to navigate. It's unlike anything I've ever done before. You know, everything else seemed a little bit more straightforward in terms of how do I make a living with this? You know?
Yeah, exactly. It does. You're right.
No, it's true. Yeah.
You know, art is really heartfelt work. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you're putting your heart and soul out there, you're pretty, well, speaking for myself, pretty vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And I guess you have to get really comfortable with that, you know?
Mhm.
But in terms of like making any money at it, it's pretty rough. I have a friend who's a fine artist on the coast of Maine, and he has managed to, you know, he's in his mid to late 60s now, and he's managed to make a living at this most of his life. Although there have been interim periods where he is lobstering,
Mm-hmm.
he's working at Lowe's, you know. Yeah.
It's frustrating because I feel like when I reflect on how I landed in this spot in my life, it reminds me, like I'm remembering college classes that I took, like, you know, well over 30 years ago, that I steered myself away from, and they were creative things because I kept thinking, what is this gonna do for me? Like how, you know,
Yeah.
how can I make a living from this? Instead
Yeah.
of just not putting that critique, I was the one giving myself that critique. It wasn't anyone else around me.
Yeah, that's a thing that's easy to fall into. I mean, I was getting that lecture from my parents. So
Yes.
I
So
must
that
have gotten
wasn't
some
good.
message like that. Yeah.
Because, you know, I have a business degree and it's been useful, but I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
No,
Would not do it again.
that's,
Good
I
at it.
wanted,
You've got
I-
big businesses.
I wanted to do something in art and my parents were like, no, 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 no. So
Mhm.
my undergrad degree is journalism. I went back and got an MBA and my corporate career was business.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. And you know, I wouldn't do it again. I mean, I don't regret it because I ended up in a really good place and it gave me the options that I have now, where my husband and I are retired early,
Mhm.
somewhat by plan and somewhat by health situation.
Mhm.
And you know, if I hadn't had that corporate career, we would be in a much different place.
Mhm.
So, you know, I don't regret it. I can't complain, but I would never do it again.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when we were raising our children, we made sure that we raised them very differently. We were like, you need to do whatever you think you're going to be passionate about. And we
Mhm.
still ended up with four science. I mean, we have an
Four what?
electric, they're all in STEM. We have an electrical engineer, a systems administrator, a material scientist who's getting his PhD now at MIT, and a teacher who is, his undergrad was biology. So they all ended up going into STEM fields, even though we were very hands off. We were like, you want to be an artist? You want to be a musician? You want to be an accountant? Whatever it is that seems to float your boat, we're going to support that. So yeah, I don't know. There are many, many, many books written on this. I think it's partially in our country, although I don't think it's easy for artists anywhere, but I think in our country we are undervalued. It's just it's a conundrum.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Mhm.
I think it's the way everywhere. I see the same thing up here, don't you, Nancy?
What's that? Oh,
That
yeah,
art
it's very
is
same.
undervalued.
Oh, yeah. My husband's a not professional artist. He's got 2 master's degrees before they had PhDs in fine art. And he's taught forever, which has been a real gift. And he's shown his work, he's exhibited his work forever and he's done very well. But come on, right? Our friends who are lawyers are living quite differently than we are, but we're living just fine.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing just fine. Like we're not doing without, that's for sure. And again, there's those standards of
Mhm.
our expectation. I don't know what the word is, right? It's so materially based.
Yeah.
What do you have? Da, da, da. What kind of stove do you have? What kind of, it's just stupid. Calgary is gross for that.
Hmm.
Gross. Right? You probably saw that, Jean, right?
Yeah.
Oil and gas industry here is just huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing fine. And I was a teacher. I only always worked part-time so I could make art. And yeah, now I'm retired for health reasons, as I shared yesterday, and that's fine too. You wake up on the right side of the grass.
Good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I think too, well, I mean, I think our whole system is, especially in the United States, I think our whole system is geared toward basically grinding people into the ground for
profit.
dubious reward, if
Yeah.
any, at the end of the day.
Well, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of see myself as I'm like doing a midlife retirement right now. My husband and I made the choice. So I've had many jobs in my life. I worked in nonprofits, but then I went and got my MSW. So I worked as a social worker for about 5 years. And then I had my daughter 14 years ago. And my husband and I decided it just wasn't, I didn't have these like, I was new in my social work career, but I didn't have aspirations to like move up a ladder, so to speak, in that field. And I was working with death and dying, and I didn't want to be a new mom working in death and dying. And we decided that like the 40 hours a week that I would be working, all of that, what I got paid would go to childcare.
Right.
It was like, what, you know, I would rather be the one taking care of our children than working really hard for a career that I like, but that I'm going to be burned out at the end of the day, and we're going to spend all of my income is going to go straight to their childcare. Like it just didn't. And my husband is a scientist, so in research and development. So it's like we're comfortable enough with just one income. So I've been able to do that. So that's why when the pandemic hit, I had gone back like mother's hours in an administrative job just to have some income of my own and to sort of ease back into the work life. And then that shut down. So that's when I took up this and then started to realize like, wow, why didn't I ever go into art? Like, how can I pursue this? But I think it's, lost my train of thought.
Well,
So now I'm
teaching
at this
is a
crux
good-
of like, what am I going to do with this? I still look, our plan as a household is that in the fall or in the summer, I'll start to look for jobs for the fall. Because if I were to land any kind of job right now, it would disrupt our summer plans that we've been able to do for 14 years, where I'm free to do stuff with my kids in the summertime. And I didn't want to disrupt that. So I am looking for work, but I don't know exactly what it will be in. And sometimes I do the like, I should go back into social work. And other times I'm like, I should do art and be a lobsterman kind of thing. You know, like, I should just go sling coffee. Or I've even joked about driving the school bus in town, because they're always looking for school bus drivers, and it pays like $30 an hour. So I'm like,
Pays good.
pretty good
Yeah.
pay, as long as my kids aren't mortified that I'd be behind the wheel.
Yeah, there's that. There's that.
But yeah, it's just sort of an interesting, like, and then, so we do the same thing though, like some of you were saying, like our daughter's a ballet dancer, and she's like, right now, that's where she's going, and that is fine. And my nephew he's graduating from Berklee College of Music with jazz piano next month. And he's like, that's what he's doing. He's from the moment he learned how to play piano, he's followed his heart, and his parents they've supported it all along, even though on the surface level, if you looked at them, they're both retired Air Force, love music, but have no understanding of the field of music. And they were like, go do what you want to do. I mean, they both went to the Air Force Academy. They don't understand liberal arts colleges. They don't understand music colleges, but they just said, go do it. And that's sort of where we're at. My husband went to science. I went to liberal arts. You know, if our daughter goes to a dance school, great. We won't understand it, but go do it, because life's too short to.
That's right.
Money, money will come, or the quality of life will come. I think there's too many stories, like some of you were saying, of like pursuing one thing, and then maybe you've set yourself up well, but thank goodness your health is good and you can do the thing you've wanted to do, sooner. But
Yeah.
all a gamble.
I was that way too in terms of it. I was in education, in the Department of Education in the daytime as a student, and at night I was taking weaving classes and everything else at the university.
Yeah.
So my minor was actually in art, but at the same time, I always taught part-time because I wanted to be able to have that ability to do that. So
yeah. Or my father-in-law, he just passed away 2 years ago now. He like, what was his career? I didn't know him when he was working, but he was like an IT specialist, basically, for some businesses. He had studied psychology, got a career in IT, but he became an artist. Like, he had always been interested in pursuing this. So he did acrylic painting, like these large abstract paintings of this particular movement that he was one of the founders of. But he was doing this, he'd come home from his 8-hour job after an hour-long commute, have dinner, see his family, see my husband, and then he would work all hours of the night and then sleep 2 hours and go to work the next day. That was the only way he could do it. And then he went into photography, and we did photography in the later part of his life. But while he was working, that's just how he did it.
Yeah.
Burning
Yeah.
the candle at both ends kind of thing.
Exactly.
So I think, but I feel fortunate that my husband had that experience and saw the value of that, that he's been okay with me like doing whatever the hell I'm doing right now.
Well, that's fantastic, right? Yeah, you're right. He has had that experience.
He has that, he understands that. So, yeah.
Yeah,
But
my
I
three
need to
kids
have a
are,
job.
my daughter is she's got a master's of social work. She works in Whitehorse up in the Yukon,
Oh, wow.
and she works with trauma kids.
Yes.
Whoa,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really tough. She's got a lot of extra training like play therapy and whatnot, but
Yeah.
it's some of the things she's in a clinic. It's a team with a child psychologist, a child
Yeah.
psychiatrist, a pediatrician, and
Yeah.
herself. And boy, she works till midnight some nights working on those reports and whatnot. And I see it on her. She is so exhausted because of what
Yeah.
she's dealing with. And then some of them, they turn on her. They want more
Yeah.
money, like they want more fun. Like, there's a lot of
Mhm.
people up there on assistance, and they want more, and they want her to be able to make that happen, and she can't. But anyway, so that's Sophie. And then my son Dana has always loved computers. Like he was
Mhm.
born in 77. So his when he was little, like the calculator was the closest thing to a computer. And oh my God, he'd just be like cuckoo with his grandpa, and his grandpa would come home and he'd just throw it and run because he wasn't supposed to be playing with it. But now he's creative director for a independent gaming company.
Oh my
So he's
God.
happy as can be with that. And then our youngest daughter's just finishing her PhD right now in clinical psychology. And oh my God, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you want to do she was over for dinner on Sunday. They were over, and she's just a mess right now. She's like, I've got to go home and work, and I'm so tired, and I had a glass of wine, and now I don't want, I really feel for her, but she'll be done in September, and then she'll reap the rewards financially anyway. And I think she's going to enjoy her work. But
yeah, I
So
think
they
if I had been doing this kind of stuff when I was still working in social work, it would have helped me a lot. I didn't
Yes.
have an outlet,
it's a good point.
Yeah,
and Sophie's a single mom, so she's really, really, she's got to get out of Whitehorse. It's too far away from everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus I mean, I think when you get into environments like that, you see, I mean, my son is a high school teacher in Nova Scotia, and some of the things that he sees as a teacher are pretty stressful, to see the conditions that kids are dealing with and have to live with, and the mental health issues that they're developing and all of that, let alone in some places isolated and rural and,
Probably impoverished up in Whiteface.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It takes its toll. I might not even be aware of it. But I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's that's why I don't really understand, in the United States we have this celebrity culture, and where people are so interested in the lives of these people who are ridiculously wealthy, especially since income inequality is a huge social problem in the United States. And people are just really, a lot of people are really struggling, or they're working several jobs, or they're not able to do the thing they really want to do and all of that in the real world. But for some reason, like Kim Kardashian has millions and millions of Instagram followers. And
I think it's sort of, in a way, it kind of reminds me though of what you read about, like the silver screen era of the Great Depression. Like you had the Great Depression era, and then you had a lot of like movies, right? Like these glamorous movies. And I think it's sort of like an escape in a way, though.
I guess.
But
Oh.
it's grosser than that now. Like
It's gross.
yeah.
I mean,
They're
I look at these.
cheeseballs. Yeah, their lifestyle, like the way they live their lives, is just like,
It's one thing for it to be imaginary, I guess, on a silver screen and to be fictitious, but that's not fictitious. That's like,
Right. And I look at these people who honestly just don't have a single financial
mhm.
care other than just managing it, which they have people doing for them.
mhm.
So I just don't understand why people want to even look at that. I am not interested. Well, it's more interesting to me if I'm following the page of like an artist or, you know, someone
Mhm.
who's really making their way in a realistic way and in a way that, you know, you might learn something from, or, you know,
And they're authentic in what they're doing.
Yeah.
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 yeah,
Well, that
So-
nourishes you, right? Those kind of things are nourishing on Instagram. Like when you
exactly.
see, you know, you follow and you hear their stories or their whatevs. But yeah,
Whatever.
the US is really, I don't think Canada has that culture of extreme wealth and glitz that, like with Trump leading the pack in so
Yeah,
many
no.
ways, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it is anywhere near that. Yeah. So it's, yeah, the whole thing. I mean, part of the reason why I thought it was important to put up and have a gathering for you know, biz and studio chat is because you get to hash out, you know, this kind of thing, like, or, you know, you have an opportunity, or like, you know, Naomi is on that a lot, and um she's doing a lot of like things like the, you know, the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, Rhinebeck, you know, like she you know, that's how she's approaching her business is, um you know, retail kits, commercial stuff like that, but she's also doing art pieces and how that all sort of comes together. And so I
Mhm.
think, but I think everybody pieces it together in a different way. And, you know, we can learn from each other um, in the conversation. It is true that most of the artists that I know do not have to do it to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
I know a few who do,
Mhm.
but I know many, many more who don't.
Mhm.
And that in itself is concerning, not because anybody should have to. It shouldn't, you know, there's no shame or judgment in doing it without needing to make a living at it. But the fact that it's so rare, that's
Yeah.
the part that we should all be looking at.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's a certain privilege that comes, right?
Yeah,
That's what's been eating me up lately, and what's in that piece that I'm working on is just the privilege that I have to sit here and say, like, all is grand and beautiful and wonderful, and I get to do this, but I have to acknowledge my privilege in being able to do that,
yeah,
you know.
Part of that
Yeah.
is the way the US has been set up, that, you know, until the Affordable Care Act,
Mhm.
your insurance, your health insurance is tied to your job. So you
that's
couldn't
right.
really
Right.
have a job as an independent artist
No, true.
unless you had a spouse who had the job that was tied to
Right.
Mhm.
the health insurance.
That's
You know,
exactly right.
and as someone who, you know, lived through those years of, oh, every 2 seconds we're going to take a vote to get rid of your health insurance because that's what I was on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
You know, that was so stressful because I wasn't working at that point. My husband was, but he was an IT guy, and a lot of those jobs are contract jobs.
Mhm.
So he didn't have the insurance. So that was how we insured ourselves.
Mhm.
And then the constant, oh, now they're going to vote again. They want to get rid of it. They're going to get rid of it. It was just, that was so stressful. And people who opted out of that and said, I'm just going to keep working because I couldn't handle that. Well, I totally understand that because
Mhm.
it was so stressful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, during that time, I was, unfortunately, my husband did have health insurance, with the exception of a brief time when he was doing contract work and we paid the equivalent of a mortgage to insure our family.
Yeah.
I was working as a real estate broker. That's an independent contractor position.
Right.
There's no benefits, no insurance, and B, you don't get paid unless you close the sale. So that was rough, you know. So there's a lot of these holes, you know, in the United States, where it makes it very difficult to do certain things, including things like real estate sales, because of that whole issue. And I think it's an important topic. I think it's something that needs to be talked about more, especially in art circles.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm. Well, it is there's definitely, yeah, the States is, I don't understand it. I don't get it. But like that, universal healthcare, come on, it's a wealthy country.
I know.
Yeah, I
Well-
don't get it either.
No, my
We
my
don't get it.
my 12-year-old, the one I just picked up, he his growing passion aside from video gaming, and he does a lot of like world game and alternate history type games, but he's in Model UN and he enjoys understanding policy. The kid has loved listening to the BBC since he was like 8. But even he the other day was like, you know, it doesn't make sense that when people get sick in our country, you have to do those GoFundMe pages to help people pay. Like,
Oh,
what kind of
Right.
a system do we have, even with universal health care, right? That people still have to, you know,
That's
do
right.
these GoFundMe pages to like be able to pay for all the things they need when someone gets sick in their home. So it's somewhere along the line, he's got an awareness of these things. Like we know a number of people in town who've had, you know, things happen, either like a spouse dies or something like that, and the GoFundMe. So he's aware of what they are. But I was like, that's so astute. You're right. Like why we rely on, and that's at the backbone of American culture, actually, if you think about it, going back to like, we go back to like Jane Addams and the early social work movement. It's all the problems, we could see the problems, but they weren't fixed by the government. They were fixed by outside entities. They were fixed by charitable organizations stepping up to fill the gap that our systems were not taken care of, you know, and that we've just persisted in that way. So that's why the universal healthcare was like such a big brouhaha, because it went against all that we knew in terms of, you know, we should all be doing this on our own, up by our own bootstraps thing, right?
Yeah, which
But
is
now
really
we have this
dysfunctional.
crutch. Like we have a system where people get by because they have GoFundMe pages. Like that's not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that that's wrong, you know, I'm just saying like but what's broken, I'm glad that it
Right.
exists, and I'm glad people
Yeah, it's a
use
good
them.
thing, but it
But
shouldn't
it's
have
like,
to
what's
be.
wrong with the bottom line system, that is how people's needs are getting met. It's not getting met by the social welfare system. It's not
Right.
getting met by, yeah, anyway.
so how does it work there? Like this is totally off, but it's I mean, hey, come on, we can just talk about this stuff because I was saying we in Canada, like we pay nothing for our healthcare. It's
Oh, no.
and as a senior, because I'm over 65, I can't believe it, the Blue Cross benefits
Mhm.
that I get. It's amazing. It pays for almost my entire prescription. And I have private health insurance as well, but I could certainly live without that. That pays for prescriptions, physio, you know, a percentage of that. But basically I go to the doctor, I don't even think about that ever.
Yeah,
Email
it just,
petition, don't even think about it.
What
I mean-
bothers me about our system is that with Medicare or Medicaid and having to apply for these things or know if you're eligible for them, I have a master's degree and I still cannot wrap my head around all the ins and outs of doing this stuff. If you're someone who just look at education level, but then you add on all the other stressors that so many people are carrying through their lives, how on earth are you going to have the capacity to understand what program you're supposed to be on, whether you're eligible for it or not? And you're only going to learn that if you're willing to ask for help, or someone
Right.
finds you along the way and says, let me help you with that. Because otherwise, a lot of people are walking through not realizing that they're even eligible for stuff, or that there are services there. It should just be a blanket, like, you live in this country, you've got care. But instead,
Right.
we walk around, like other people mentioned, and even my husband right now is looking at he wants to switch where he works, and it's stressful to him because I know he would be so much happier if he could just do something that gave us a big pay cut on one hand, but also he worries about healthcare. That's the number one thing that comes up for him when we think about our home and our family is healthcare.
yeah.
But we have to pay for the health. It's like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
you know,
we're
it's
paying-
not even like it's just provided anymore by your employer, which it was like 30 years ago or so. And now it's like you just pick the best affordable plan that your office offers, which is better than going on the universal plans. But
yeah. And it's not even very good. Like my
No.
husband he has a very responsible job for a decent company, but our deductible is
yeah,
5 figures. So we're out of pocket $10,000 or more
yep,
on care
Mhm.
before our policy even starts to kick in.
yep,
Yep.
I believe it. Yep.
So it's a huge thing. When I put this recording up, I'm going to put a little note on it that says,
Oh, yeah, maybe we should cut this part off of the recording.
the only people who are going to see this are other people
Are
the
in our own
community.
network. Yeah.
So I feel like actually it's been it is a good conversation, and I think it's a relevant conversation to people who are either thinking about trying to make a go of art or are doing it, or
Mhm.
because I think this is a really relevant conversation, even though it's not directly related to the content. It's related to what happens if you're trying to make a creative go of it.
Mhm.
And it's just, you do have all these issues. You've got the undervalue of the work. You've got the crazy gallery owners who are like, well, you've got to sell this thing in 30 days. You've got no health insurance in America, and it seems really daunting.
Well, it's the business of art.
It is.
Right.
It's the business of art, and I think that's a real relevant thing to talk about.
It is, because I still try to wrap my head around all the aspects of being an artist, so to speak. Like, am I supposed to actually have structure to my day? Is the one I think about a lot. Like, I should actually have discipline. And so there's that part, but there is also like the lifestyle. Like, how do you live? How do you make ends meet? How do people do it? And like you said earlier, most people are working and being the artists. They aren't just solely living off of their art. That's the rare individual that does that,
Yes.
It is rare. Or even, I talk to a lot of studio owners. Like, I talk to a lot of rug hooking studio owners. We have a lot of private conversations regarding the profitability or non-profitability of running rug hooking studios. And the profit margin is razor thin. It is absolutely razor thin. It's a ton of work. The customers can be very demanding. You might get 90% of your customers who are just darling, but that 10% is they're gonna make you think twice. And it's just really rough. I think it's a a rare rug hooking studio like Deanne's maybe, where they're making a really healthy, comfortable profit. Most of the studio owners that I talk to are just making it. And so, the other thing that comes with that is the point that I've reached, which is, yes, I've had a pretty successful run with Parris House Woolworks, and we've shipped all over the United States, and we've sold. Like, I was trying to figure out how many hooking frames I had sold the other day, talking to somebody about it. It has to be like at least well over 1,000, which for a studio the size of mine is kind of a lot. So like, there's been a lot of activity and everything, but the profit margins have always been razor thin. And then if you want to actually get to a point in your life where you can do art, you kind of have to scale that back, because even with an assistant, I was working 60, 80-hour weeks on the retail side. And but in order to do that, I feel like, I do want to have some of my own money still. And so I'm going to be working for the J&E Riggin. I'm going getting training next week, for their offsite admin job. And it took me a long time to get my psychology in place to feel like taking an external job didn't mean I failed at something. You know what I mean? And then I look around and all, like, I know there's a woman who has this company in Maine called Soulshine Soap Company. And it's just it's been wildly successful. And right now she is driving Uber. It's really, and I think these are the things, I think as business owners, as artists, we don't want to talk about the choices that we might be forced into, or the choices that we make because we want this, and this to also fall into place. We all think that, I think artists especially live with this idea that if they have a side gig, somehow they're not a real artist.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But like, we can look at the example, our shining queen, Deanne.
Yeah.
In terms of a model, a success model. Look at how she does that.
She's branded herself really well.
Oh, she never stops. Never.
Yeah.
I think her personality seems to be one of somebody who never stops and loves that kind of pace in her life, where I can tell you, I can do that kind of pace, but I don't love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
I can't do it. But it's interesting because she hired that Angela, like in terms of business model, right? When I first started following her, which was, 10 years ago, she was still answering the phone, taking orders, messing orders up, to be honest, because she was doing too many, juggling too many things.
Yeah.
And I'd get patterns that made like my daughter gave me a pattern for a gift. I never hooked, it made no sense because it wasn't drawn properly.
Yeah.
Walls were missing, window, but anyway, then she hired Angela, who's her she's not her assistant. I think she's like her manager kind of. And she said, Angela said to me, I could be making a lot more money running classes, like taping classes and hiring staff to run the store who do a better job than, she was doing, right? Because she was doing too many things.
Yeah.
And then, whoa, like she's got a new class every couple of months. And she never stops on social media. She writes her Sunday letters, which are actually quite lovely.
They are lovely.
They are
lovely, right?
I actually look forward to them on Sunday morning.
Me too.
They're beautiful. I mean, they really
are.
are they're heartfelt. And I think she is heartfelt.
Yes,
and
me too.
Absolutely. I did the harbor. That was a quality piece that was a great investment. She showed up in person. It was recorded, but it was her up close and personal, and teaching and interviewing. like Alexandria Eaton, she was in her studio. She's visiting artist studios. She's reading from her book. She's recommending a book every month. It was on and on and on. The depth of that,
Yep.
that course. And then she pulled the plug on it. And I know why. It was too
It's
labor
probably too
intensive.
intense, just too much. Because she has
Yeah.
a family too, which
Yeah.
she is very also good about keeping sheltered from all of that. Like you don't hear a lot about her family.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, she's and yet if I show up at her studio on the fly unannounced, she will take as much time. She's like,
Yeah.
how are you doing? How have you been? How's your book doing? Give me any kind of advice. She'll go into mentor mode immediately.
She's great.
Yes.
I agree. And I actually was lucky enough to be chosen to be, I was mentored by her for just like an hour and a half,
Mhm.
which is videotaped for her program, The Harbor. But wow, she really looked at my work. She really addressed it. And
Yes.
at that time, Rick and I were doing full collaborations in terms of it. And she said, close your eyes and just visualize a gallery full of that work. You know, she's the one that planted that seed, like move forward with that.
Yes, me too. She was, when I was writing my first book, she was extraordinarily encouraging. She was fantastic.
That's a gift she has. That's a big gift. And she could be doing that, but she doesn't need to, I guess. You know, but it's, so there's a very, very soulful woman at the helm of that company.
Yeah.
That's probably what is setting her apart from others, is that does, you know, it does shine through. It does
It
shine through.
translates.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. It does.
does.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we can laugh at her finishing methods, but hey, that's what she hired someone to do it, and she's
I was gonna
honest
say,
about it.
you can't argue with her, what she's built. Not at
No,
all. And
no,
she's a
no.
she's a sweet person.
Yeah, yeah.
So does
But I love
anybody?
see. Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. No,
I was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say what I love seeing is the hints of her business model are coming through Haley, through her
Yes.
studio.
Oh, yes.
Did you see Haley's right now trying to feel out whether people would want a subscription service from her? Like a monthly dyed wool
Oh.
package, which, you know, has been a big part of Deanne's
Yeah.
package for a while.
It might work for her. I tried that a couple times years ago. Yeah, it
Yeah.
never really
But
caught
it's
on
just
for
fun
me,
to
but-
see Haley growing and using some of the business models that Deanne set up.
and
So,
Deanne, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
sure she's really mentoring her.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I would think so. I would hope so anyway.
Mhm.
Well, I was going to ask if anybody wanted to do show and tell.
I was going to say, I can show you my standing wall.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I knew you
I-
had that going.
I finished hooking for the second time.
Okay.
Let's see if I can.
Oh,
Oh,
neat.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
That
So
is
this is-
working.
So this is the seed pod that is empty, and this is that little piece that is sometimes in the middle that the
Yeah.
seeds were attached to.
Yep.
So I like it. I'm gonna keep it. I mean, I did it twice now, so
Yeah.
Well
yeah.
mastered.
because the
This is
first
great.
one I needed to sew this differently than I did the first time. So now I know how to sew a non-circular
Mm.
standing wool better.
Yeah.
Did
And in
you,
fact,
did you do that part first and then hook around it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because because I've done round quillies before, and it's easier to sew them on when nothing else is on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
linen.
Right.
But I didn't know if I was going to like the effect. So even though I don't know if you still call this a quilly or not, my first one had some issues, but I hooked around it anyway to see if I thought I would like the overall. But
mhm.
then I had to rip all the hooking out to be able to redo the center part. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. This is the second time.
Yeah. It actually reminds me of the way that Mary Delano does trees. I'm going to just see in a few minutes when we've gone around a bit, I'll see if I can find an example from this class that we took with her where she does run the wool in very non-circular ways.
Yeah.
To create the shapes of the trunks and all of that. And I'll see
Yeah,
if
and
I
I
can
saw that
find
from
that.
her, and I've seen that on other, so I knew you could do it, but how to best do that? Because it was a little fiddly
Yeah,
to figure it out
yeah,
and to hold it and sew it in the ways, because I wanted it to taper.
right.
Do you know what I mean? To like
Yes.
to sculpt it while you're sewing it. Like I could have used a third hand would have been perfect.
Or maybe a clip, like a little,
I thought about using my quilting clips, but then I wasn't sure if that was going to help or not. So I didn't
Yeah.
get them out.
yeah. What about pins? Could it have been pinned down? Would that have helped or no?
Maybe, it was because it was this putting it together in this shape that was the hard part. The sewing it to the linen was easier.
Okay.
It was that initial getting the shape what I wanted it, making the wool do what I wanted in the shape.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Cool.
I'm gonna keep it.
All right. Does anybody else want to show where they are in their piece? Nancy's not
Nope.
ready. I'm not
You
ready.
know, I
either.
thought I
got
brought out
nothing.
the proper, like, I bought, this is real warping thread, right? So tomorrow, I'm gonna put that on and try that for reals.
Yeah.
This other one is interesting. And I think on a big piece, there's tons of potential, but. And as I said, I'm already, like, I've washed my linen. Tomorrow it'll be dry. And I might just have it, scrub down my frame tonight with alcohol and stick it up. See what happens. Because I'm
Yeah.
really ready to get to the hooking. I miss
you have-
hooking.
Do you have any allergy medicine
Oh yeah, I'm taking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on a huge dose. It didn't make me feel well, so I cut back. But I mean, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not great. Let's just say that. More
No.
than it's moving into my lungs now, but I'll be careful. I'll just take that whatever's on there off with the mask on, have my window open, and wipe that down, and then try it tomorrow. Not in there. I'll bring it out in the living room or something. Because
Yeah.
we have to do the top to floor in there, get all the wool out, and
Right.
scrub it down. But anyways, so I'm not ready, but
No, I'm not ready either.
I see people working away there, busy.
Yeah.
little-
Yeah, I think Stacy and Jean probably have something to show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on my trees.
Okay.
Where I'm
What do you
at.
got?
It's nothing fancy, it's just trees. I'm trying to decide whether I want to have the yellow glow on them or not. Because it will be sunset back here. And I'm just
Mhm.
trying to decide whether there'll be a glow on the back of the trees. So right now I'm just trying to work out their shape. That's
Yeah,
why
I like the shading on that tree in the foreground.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's mainly just a textured wool and then a plain brown somewhere. Yeah.
And then as far as the glow goes, I feel like I wouldn't even have an opinion on that until you got the background in.
Mhm.
I'm kind of I'm doing it kind of as a placeholder right now. So this one I did with the tunnel technique.
Yeah, I see that.
And
Okay.
this one is sort of, I did the little lined ones,
The
but
cut.
I think, yeah, they're kind of at an angle, which is odd, but anyway, mainly because I just wanted to see, to have a
Well.
placeholder. So
Yeah.
see.
Coming right along though, really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
I
you
feel
guys.
like I needed to do some hooking instead of whatever I was doing with the pine needle things.
Yeah, I could see where that would be do a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Well, I want the trees to be in place so then I can sort of fill in around them, I think.
When are you
I
gonna
got where
plant
the
your house?
cabin is going, so now I can put the cabin on top, but now I need to know where the trees are going to be so I can then stretch the pieces across, between the trees. So that's all.
Well, it's coming along. You've done a lot.
Yeah, you have actually gotten a lot done.
I like when I hook.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jean, what's going on?
Working
Oh.
away there.
lots of frustration, but
Oh, let's see.
there.
Wow.
Oh, you got a lot done.
Wow.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
I think it's looking good.
It's chain stitch on the stem. And it's
Yeah.
chain stitch. And I was just spent, there's a gold kind of embroidery that's chain stitch that's coming down between the, just a minute, there's gotta be a better way to do this. No, there isn't. Yes, there is. I'm gonna put this on my frame and hold my frame up, and that'll be easier. Maybe? No, that's not gonna work. I have to undo the whole frame. I'm not gonna do it. Anyways, I'll just stand up, so this will be easier. So there I am. There it is. There is stitching. There's couching here, which is a technique that Beth didn't cover, but it's just laying the thread down, the yarn down, and then sewing over it with embroidery thread to tack it in place.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
And then there's straight embroidery in the veins. And I actually tried up here to hook in the veins with the embroidery, but I found it way too frustrating. It was much easier to embroider it on top of the hooking. So,
Cool.
so I've got little white bells that need to go down here, and I'm considering trapunto or, stuffing wool or just wool applique for those. I'm not sure which yet at this point. And I had to rearrange the leaves. I was telling Beth earlier on, I don't know if everyone was here for that or not, but I had to change the pattern because I had the leaves down too far over here. In actual fact, the leaves are kind of up quite a bit in this plant. And I think this was the picture I went by when I drew it,
Okay.
but in actual fact, it's more like this. So you
Oh,
see
yeah.
the little white bells more, eh?
Mhm.
So,
Beautiful.
but however, mine's gonna end up being somewhat between the two.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm still not sure what I'm gonna do with the background. I was thinking the little, the shoots on the front here, that I might do those in, again, actually a little trapunto in a light green. In other words, a little stuffed underneath the wool.
Okay.
And yeah, I thought I only need to do the tops of them like that. Let me go, this is so weird looking. Just do the tops like that. And then the bottom stems can be chain stitch again. That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking there. And this is way too detailed. I haven't figured out how I'm going to work this thing out yet.
Wow.
And
How
then,
about the lettering? Have you decided how you're going to do that?
well, it's going to have to be yarn or thread, one of the two.
Yeah.
And I think I have a couple of options. Actually, I have several options. I have my own homespun, which is this stuff.
Mm.
Oh, that's
And I
pretty.
can get it, I have it in multiple colors, so this is not the only color. And I also have two sizes of
Oh, yeah.
DMC thread for Hardanger embroidery, actually, a 5, and I think it's an 8. Yes. So I could use the 5 probably. The 8 will probably be too fine, I'm thinking. And I also have lots of embroidery floss I could use.
Yeah.
But I'm finding that the embroidery floss kind of wants to hide. So I'm actually more leaning towards a couple or 3 or 4 strands of this at a time, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. If you want it, are you going to hook around it or?
Well, I was thinking that I might have to. I was thinking at one point, not my original, but I was thinking at one point about painting the background, Beth.
Yeah.
But then you really are stuck with, you need that name readable, legible, eh?
So,
I mean, what if you, the other thing is if you put like a little applique banner on there, you could stitch on that.
Oh, that's true. I could embroider on the applique
Yeah.
Oh,
and stick that in there.
It wouldn't hide like your original thought, I think, was to make it sort of hide into the background.
No, it wouldn't hide.
It wouldn't hide. It would be overt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's
So,
okay too. And I could do it. Yeah, I could pick one of the colors and make it a pale cream colored background, or make it a green background with a bright yellow or pale lettering.
yeah.
I could go either way. And I've tended towards the yellow greens more in the leaves and stuff. So I think the darker yellow greens, the darker blue greens will go in the background. Darker blue greens, maybe.
it really seems like spring-like.
Yeah, I need about, I figure I need at least 9 shades of green in it. Probably 3 times 5, 15 probably. That's what I'm guessing.
15 shades.
Yeah. Well, I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the leaves, 6 in the leaves. Just in the leaves. You guys are awful.
Sorry, I
thoughtful.
stepped out. I didn't mean to. Rick's home for lunch.
It's
by
a
the way.
lot.
And I've got his
15
mug.
shades
He's
is
looking
a
around
lot.
for his mug. I've got it. Anyways,
Well, I've got 15 shades, don't worry. I've got lots of green.
well, that's good.
The right one in the right
Coming
place.
along, and that's the opposite of your Parker's Cove.
Oh,
stuff.
yes, isn't it nice?
You'll be maybe jumping back to those real.
I love Parker's Cove, don't get me wrong. It was a great series. It was a lot of fun, and it was a really joyful series to do, but it's
It's really
time to move on.
Jane, do you usually hook in series?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. I often do, but not intentionally.
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
question. It's only been the last 2 that well, no, I did the poetry series, and that was intentional. It just took 14 years. Then well, when I get into something, I go into it big time. Like a couple of you were saying you don't hook Christmas stuff. Well, I was hooking for a high-end gift shop, and they wanted Christmas stuff, and that was when I first started out. So I spent 6 months hooking Christmas stuff before Christmas.
right.
yeah.
And I had, like, I don't know, 50, 60 pieces that were 6 inches by 6 inches or smaller for that Christmas. And I did the Prairie Sky series while I was doing the poetry series. And that was 10 different skies. And I hooked about 120 of those, 110 of those, and sold most of them through the gallery and the craft shop. And I'm thinking, or not the craft shop, how do you call them? It's not an art gallery. You know what I mean?
Like
Like
Art?
Jennifer's, a place like Jennifer's, Nova Scotia here, kind of
Oh, I
high-end
don't.
gift shop. That's what I'm thinking. It's a high-end gift shop. That's what it was. And yeah, so I guess I do work in series. Good question. Yeah. Then I did the Parker's Cove, and I've been toying with the South Korean one, but I think this one calls me more. The South Korean one would be fun to do, but I don't know how much my husband would appreciate having pictures of South Korea on the wall, and I'm not sure that they'd be all that saleable in Nova Scotia. So
Mm.
They might be down the city, right? Like, Halifax is pretty cosmopolitan. There's a lot of different,
yeah, maybe.
it's diverse in Halifax, Dartmouth.
Mhm.
So maybe. So Jean, what came to me while you were talking about that was, so you made like 110 or 120 of these small pieces, and you sold most of them.
Yeah.
That's that's kind of what we were talking about before, was like, so what made those, not that we always want to be like making for sale necessarily, but what about those made them sell so successfully for you?
Well, they were small. If you were a tourist, you could buy
Yeah.
one and stick it in your suitcase and take it home.
Mhm.
Affordable, probably.
Two, I was losing money on them hand over fist. because
Oh, no.
That's one of the reasons I stopped making them, Beth. I
Oh,
was hand spinning the yarn that was in the foreground.
Oh,
I've got one here on the wall. I just don't know if I can get it down. But it was done with. I need to be about a foot taller.
yeah, me too. So this reminds me of the lecture my husband, who's the controller for a $100 million company, is always saying, because like I'll have a year where the sales look pretty good on Parris House Woolworks, and he's like, "That's great. What was the net profit?"
Oh, I know. It's like,
Mhm.
And he's not being
That doesn't-
discouraging. He's like really actually very supportive and encouraging, but he wants me to think about that.
There we go. Got it
All
on.
right. Let's spotlight.
You
Jean.
can tell that we were influenced by Deanne Fitzpatrick, who I took classes from.
I
Yeah,
love
okay.
that Prairie Skies series. If you guys get a chance to go on Jean's website, this Prairie Sky series there's one that
Yeah.
I'm very tempted to buy it.
That is so sweet. Very lovely.
They're nice.
But
Very
the
nice.
love
bottom
them.
here, this is bamboo and wool and silk. And there's, what else is in that? Angelina, which is a metallic. There's a little bit of shine to it. I don't know if it's picking it up.
Yeah, we
Yes.
can
Oh,
see it.
yeah, yep.
A little bit of
Mhm.
metallic there.
Okay, I want to see the back now.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay,
That nice hanging sleeve.
and a little hanging sleeve. All right.
Aw, yeah.
Comes with the dowel too.
Comes with
Hey, let's gotta boost the
You
price
know,
on that one right now.
When I first sold these, it was in 2013 and I was selling them for $25.
Oh,
Oh my
The
God,
art-
that was going to be my next question.
This
It'd
is
be like
Saskatchewan
4
Crafts
times that
Council.
price.
The Saskatchewan Crafts Council got me into one of their workshops on pricing in 2014, early 2014. And I was told bluntly to double my price. So they went up to $50 overnight.
Yeah.
They were still
Oh.
selling like hotcakes for about a year at the Saskatchewan Craft Council Gallery, Affinity Gallery up in Saskatoon, and at Traditions down in Regina. So I upped the price to $60.
What size is that?
6 inches by 6 inches.
Well, there's a gal in Regina who's still, you know her.
Yeah,
You did
Shelley.
it. She's
Shelley.
doing that now. She's doing those now. Not
She's
a-
doing this?
Not as nice, not detail like that. But she does a prairie, the foreground and the sky.
Yeah.
And she's very much adapted my style of foreground sky, but different. Different.
So Jean, here's the thing. Like I told you yesterday, those are still underpriced on your website.
Hey,
What are they on the website?
I forget, what are they, Jean? Like they're only in the 60s, aren't they?
Those
Yeah,
should be
because
like
that's what they're selling
$100
for.
pieces.
okay,
That's
well,
what-
what if 250 a square foot?
Wait, who
50 a
said that?
square foot.
Mine?
I
Yeah.
do 250 a square foot.
I do
at a
too.
minimum.
And you know what, at that exhibition we just had, a guy came up to me and looked at one of my rabbits and he said, "You are not making 1 cent on that, are you?"
Yeah, see, that's what I had when I was in the Regina Folk Fest, not Folk Festival, Cathedral Village Arts Festival in Regina. And we were in the street fair there, that's 10 blocks long. I'd have all the artists and the art professors and the galleries owners, they'd be stopping by and they'd be saying, "You're not earning any money."
Well, this was still 250 a square foot because it was 250, it was a square foot, it was 250 and he was like,
It's
That's
still not enough, really.
no, I know.
That's my minimum when I'm doing work for someone, and it still doesn't really feel like enough.
Yeah, I haven't had time to get back on my website and sort it out. You'll notice right now that I have stuff for 60, stuff for 130, and it's all the same size. but it's because I've got stuff at the gallery for $60 right now. And I have to get up to the gallery and get my stuff. Because I kind
Okay.
of, I've kind of severed, well, let's put it this way. I haven't severed ties exactly. I just told her that she's not likely to see any new work from me this year. So,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
and I just told her that because she was the lady who wanted one half of the Parker's Cove series and not the other half.
Oh, yeah, no.
So I just thought, no.
No.
Huh,
And
okay,
you know,
so,
like back to that 250 a square foot,
yeah,
that gallery's taking a nice little chunk, right?
They're taking 40%.
what?
So they're retailing for 60 and they're taking 40%?
Yeah.
No. No.
And the same with
I'm
my
charging-
250
I mean,
a
I'm
square
not-
foot. That's, she's taking 40. It's just
I
the way
came
it
up with a
works.
base price for my punch needle pieces, primarily pillows, because that's what I was selling at a crafts fair last year. And I came up with, I did it by square inch,
Mhm.
because that way I could, a pillow would be whatever. So mine's $1 a square inch.
Okay.
What you guys just quoted was $1, like $1.75 a
Yeah.
square inch.
Yeah, because $1 a square inch would only be $144 a
Right,
square
but
foot.
and I felt like, to me, that's like, I'm pushing my limit.
Mm-mm. And see, I think this is the challenge for us,
Although
right?
people are buying it, it's just aren't, I mean, I'm only selling locally primarily, to
Yeah.
people who are like asking me for a pillow and they custom make it. And I tell them it's, right now what I do is 75 cents a square inch if it's a pattern I already have. And it's $1 a square inch if I have to draw you something new.
No, it's too low.
You know, the big thing, like going back to a gallery, is we just talked about this earlier too, about craft versus fine art.
Right.
And craft is undervalued, or women's handwork, whatever we want to call it, is undervalued like crazy. And people will spend $10,000 on a painting and not even look back, and they hum and haw and hum and haw. And luckily, the pieces that I did sell, the people that bought them, I got phone calls, emails, beautiful, appreciative, thank you for making it. Someone said,
Oh,
it gives
that's
me
great.
joy every time. It's like, you're well, like that's what you want to hear, right?
Right.
But people need to be educated
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
on
Yeah.
what this is all about.
I actually
think
had
that's right.
someone say to me, I think they meant it sort of in a joking way. I mean, it's someone I know in the community, but I was talking about how last year for this crafts fair, I made a lot of these little ornaments that are round that have our town zip code on them because that's sort of popular.
Mhm.
And I'm sick and tired of making them. And they take a lot of time to do because I'm using a number 14 punch needle, which is tiny and it makes tiny, so it takes forever. And this person looked at me, whose daughter is really into, her 10-year-old daughter is really interested in learning punch needle. And I do hope to do a children's class at some point. So I know she was coming at this nice. So what she was really wondering is, could her daughter do stuff? But she goes, could you outsource it? And I'm like, no.
What?
I'm like, I can't outsource it.
I get that too.
And then even my mother-in-law, I think she was saying it as a joke as well, said, you really need to like mechanize this. And I was like, no, that's not the point. There are punch needle guns. I'm not doing that. Like, that's not why I'm doing this.
Well, I mean,
No.
tufting guns it's a different art. Tufting
Oh,
is
that's
just a
totally
different
I'm
art.
doing this because I want to do it
Yeah.
therapeutically and for myself. I enjoy the process, just like some people like moving a brush across
Right.
canvas or whatever. They like the tactile, like, but it was
And
just
that's
like,
the
and I
thing.
know they were both meant kindly and kind of in humor, but still I was like, no, I can't.
But nobody
outsource
tells
this.
an artist, nobody tells a painter, oh,
You're
can
gonna
you
outsource
recognize
it.
this? Can you get somebody
Right.
else to paint it for you? Although some artists, like I was saying the other day, I just read this book about Robert Indiana. They do have, I mean, he's dead now, but they did have studio artists.
Oh, sure. The great
Where they
masters
would come
did
up with
too.
the concept. Yeah, they would come up with the concept and then,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
but that's not what we're doing, you
No.
know, that's not
And
what we're
also the number of times that, again, well-meaning, when
Yeah,
people knew I was
Wilmy.
starting to do punch needle, they would send me photographs of punch needle pillows that they're seeing in craft stores, like in gift shops, I should say, not craft stores. That there's this one company called, it's actually called, ironically, like Chandler, for Chandlers or Chandler Corners or something. And they make it, you go to any gift shop in Maine and you
Yeah.
see a punch needle mousse
seen them.
it's made by this company. And they'll send me like, you could do this, you could do that. And I'm like, thanks. That's not what I'm looking for.
Like they don't value the fact that you're creating designs from your heart versus.
Right. That
And the other thing they don't appreciate or don't understand is that some of those mass-produced, punched, well, L.L. Bean sells them too.
oh
Those,
yeah.
they're either tufted or they are made by people who are being exploited.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And
Yeah.
or they're made with inferior materials too.
Yes.
Like I have a pillow I bought years ago, not really fully appreciating what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
That it was punch needle or something like and the materials now when I look at it, I'm like, this is such poor quality
Yeah.
material. It's not
Yeah.
good. The hooking is like horrible. It's not well done. Like it's definitely either machine done or it's, yeah.
Yeah. But I
And
think
it's just
that
like
whole,
a thank you, but but what's frustrating is that people will go spend $100 on the moose pillow made by Four Chandlers, whatever, at LL Bean, but they
Yep.
won't. But they'll go, oh, it's $100 to have. Meanwhile, what I'd be making them here is like one of a kind. Like I never make the same thing twice. I may do the same pattern, but I never make it the same way again.
so this is like an interesting, this is getting the wheels turning for me. Somebody mentioned education.
Mhm.
Education really is kind of where it's at, isn't it? Like educating the
is.
public. Yeah.
It is
How
because
do we do that?
I've made things for my mom. My parents had like a hobby farm. They raised sheep, not like on a agricultural production level, but they love sheep. Her Christmas tree is all sheep ornaments.
Aw.
They're into sheep.
Mhm.
So I've made her a number of things. I made her a 3D needle felted sheep that's covered in locks, so it looks like he's woolly. She's got a sheep rug on the wall, and I've done different things for her. And they live in a retirement community, and she'll say, oh, these people were in our house, and you could sell your work. And this person loves the sheep. She says, would your daughter sell this? She wants my mom to sell it. So when I had my few things at the gallery in town, hey, Mom, here's, okay, I sold one thing, one small thing, and that was it. And because once they see the price, then
Yeah.
what
Well,
she
that's
wanted
why
to
I made
pay,
all these-
like for the needle felted sheep that I made my mom, was
Mhm.
probably like $20.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Oh
why
my
I made
goodness.
small things to like sell, because I figured if I want to sell anything, I'm going to have to sit down and bust my butt and make a lot of these little things because people want to walk up and buy something that's under $20. Right.
Right.
Even though I
And what
know
can-
I just spent $20, like you said.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what can we even make for under $20?
The only time I had someone push back on me was I had an old friend, our kids went to preschool together, and she wanted to have these, I do these like, well, this one's not the same, but I do like these little crazy, probably hit and miss style punch needle coasters.
Those are great.
And
Yeah.
she wanted me to make some for her to give to all of her kids' teachers. And she wanted to order like 20 of them. And I was like, happy to do it. I did a design that was more like puzzle piece designs. And then she said, well, how much do you want to charge for them? And I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe $10, $15. She's like, Stacy, you're underselling yourself. And I ended up charging her, I think, $25. And she was happy with it because she's like, I'm supporting your business. I'm supporting your art. Like, so it was a big,
gets it.
but the whole time I felt guilty.
No. Stop that.
You just set the bar. You set the bar where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but it was
yeah.
just, it's always a challenge, right?
Yeah, it is a challenge. That's the huge thing.
Oh,
So
I have to go.
okay.
Sorry, there's a person lurking back here because
Yeah,
I
I
need to
saw
take
that.
something.
She's ready.
All right.
So I don't know if you guys will be on again or not, but
We're gonna end no later than
Okay.
4.
okay,
So
I probably
but-
won't see you till tomorrow then. Sorry to
okay.
go so
I won't
abruptly.
see you because I'm not here tomorrow. So
Wait, who's not on tomorrow? Oh, bye.
Oh, not at all.
we go to Philly to the Movement Disorders Center tomorrow for my husband. So
Okay.
that's a full day affair for us.
Okay. Well, we'll have
Okay.
recording. We'll miss you, but there will be a recording.
All right.
So
Well,
Yeah.
I'll see you
Yeah,
at
no,
some
I'm
point.
sad to miss it, but this trip we make to Philly a couple of times a year is important. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. for
Well, you
sure.
guys can keep chatting. I just have to go because I got
Okay.
Bye.
parenting
Alright.
duties. Bye.
bye. So
Yeah.
this whole conversation has reminded me that last Saturday we had open studio, and one of the people who showed up was a rug hooker, and she had someone asking her to hook some chair pads for her. The woman had purchased 5 paper chair pad patterns, and she had purchased them thinking that she was getting 5 finished chair pads. So whatever those paper chair pads cost, this person had thought that she was getting a finished 14-inch chair pad for the price of whatever a shop might,
pattern.
which is absurd, but it has happened to me in my studio, like where, people order a pattern, I'll send the pattern out and they're like, we thought it was going to be a finished chair pad. And I'm like, well, that would be a lot more. So anyway, we got into this whole topic of pricing. And when we started to talk about, just starting at $250 a square foot as like a benchmark, and, you can present it to her as, this is how much wool would be in this is the cost of the linen, blah, 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 blah. And, the person was essentially talking herself out of pricing it properly, which I'm not even faulting her for. We do this to ourselves. She was like, well, I enjoy doing it, so I would get the enjoyment out of it, and then I wouldn't have to figure out what to do with the chair pads because I would already be paid for them. And like, she had all these reasons why she could charge this woman less. And it wasn't that she was being, like I said, I can't fault her in any way. She was just acting on all those things and all those stories we tell ourselves to bring the price of our work down. So, and the idea of education came up in that conversation as well, because clearly if someone is buying paper patterns and they think they're getting a finished piece, there's a huge education gap there. There is a major education gap there. So, and what plays into it in the United States, and probably to some extent in Canada too, is that we now have economies that are running on what my husband and I joke, we call cheap shit from China. Like, it comes over imported in these container ships. People are not being paid properly over there. The materials are dirt cheap and sometimes toxic. And yet that is setting the price standards in the United States, even for artisanal work.
Yeah.
So,
even, I mean, this is same, but not. When you mentioned that about China and all that masters, like in terms of like paintings, like that's what Rick does, my husband, and he's had a great career and he does still have a good career, but people have often said, oh, but I could just, like, why, like, not in terms of him, but though in passing, I just saw the most beautiful painting at IKEA, and it was only like $20, and you're like, all right, go for it, right? That's like buying something at the dollar store and saying it's hooked. Like,
Right.
it's just terrible. It's just, yeah. Or you go to
Right.
people's homes and you see that around their house, and you're just like,
I know. And we have like, in our house, we have kind of a mixed bag. Like I have paintings here that we have spent thousands of dollars on, paying off month by month on a payment plan with the artist.
yeah.
Many thousands of dollars. And then I also have, like, in my kitchen here, I've got a poster of bee, like a framed poster, like an old fashioned bee poster,
But you're saying the right word. It's a poster.
It's a poster.
Right.
It's mass
There's a
produced.
poster.
I paid $25
Yeah,
for it.
poster's a poster's a poster.
But I wouldn't call it art. The art is
Exactly.
the paintings that I've bought from, the artists that I've loved enough to actually have to pay for
Oh, yeah,
like a
that's the whole-
year to buy the painting. And then, or I have some hooked pieces made by other artists that I admire and love, which is one of the reasons that I am sorely tempted to buy one of Jean's and just pick it up in Nova Scotia the next time I'm there. But I feel like it's okay for people to say, oh, I want to have this poster from IKEA, but where the line is crossed is where they want to make some kind of comparison, any comparison between that and a painting.
They'll call it a print or whatever. It's a poster stuck in a frame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where education comes in. And now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, so like, what am I doing, even with the little tiny platform I have of like 3,500 on Facebook and 2,400 on Instagram, like whatever, it's not very big, but what am I doing to educate people? Well, I probably don't post enough about, or write enough blog posts about, this is what sets this thing apart from this mass-produced thing you might see at LL Bean.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. That's
LL
Bean's the perfect example.
Yeah.
Everybody gets that, understands that.
So I feel like that's something that we can actually do, even if we only reach a small number of people, is always try to educate. And then the other thing is that we have to walk that line of not underpricing our own work too, because then we're not setting the bar. But it's hard because you want to sell the piece,
I know. It is. I'm gonna raise mine a little bit. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Well,
I don't have to think about it, and that's one nice thing about this gallery. She's got a summer show, a Christmas show, or whatever, winter show, a spring show. She's always has opportunities, and you can send stuff to her anytime and she'll pop it up on the wall, because she always has a wall for other stuff, no matter who's got an exhibition on. So lots of opportunity to make one-offs, and I'm happy to just relax and do one thing at a time when I am moved to do so, not because I have to. Yeah.
And I think that's really good. And I think it's incumbent on the gallery owners too. But again, they're in that same push and pull. Like they want the art to move.
And let's be realistic and look at the economy right now.
Right.
It's in the toilet, from what I understand.
It is in the toilet, and in the United States, it's particularly in the toilet because our Federal Reserve keeps jacking the interest rates up so high that people aren't able to get car loans. They're not able to get, and the debt they are carrying, if it's variable rate, it's becoming more expensive for them. Their payments are rising. So it's, it's happening probably everywhere because we're in an inflationary period globally.
Yeah,
and that's what they do. Yeah. So
they're selling, and art is, and there's another thing, art is viewed as a frill.
I know.
An extra.
Not a necessity in life. It's discretionary, not non-discretionary.
You're right. That's well put. Yeah, it is. It's discretionary.
I don't know, but a couple of the paintings we only have two that were really expensive by my standards. Like we paid $6,500 for one, which I realize is not expensive for a lot of people, but for us, that was a
That's-
major.
No, that's a nice chunk of change
That
for
was a
painting, yeah.
major purchase for us. And then the other one I think was 4. And this is over the course of like years,
Yeah,
that we bought
fair
these
enough.
2 paintings. But for me, like I look at those paintings every day
Yeah.
and I love them every day. And I
Mm,
know the artist. The artist is a friend. And I mean, he's got a painting with a $100,000 price tag on it. It's
yeah.
like the size of this wall back here. I hope he gets it. I pray he gets it, but he's the same artist who's also had to go out lobstering to put
Oh.
food on the table. So it's been,
Yeah. Yeah.
for me, art is a necessity, but I understand again that comes from a place of privilege, because if I'm just trying to feed my kids or keep a roof over my head, then art is frivolous.
Well put. That's definitely a reality, right? And if your mortgage payments have just doubled,
Yeah.
there goes that expendable.
Oh, I just spent Easter with my sister, and she's married to a millionaire's son, and they just inherited millions. And
Yeah.
they gave me the gears because their house is full of art. I mean, they have no more room for art. They're chock full. But they gave me the gears. They said, Jean, you have to think like the people who are buying the art,
Yes.
not the tourist that's coming for 1 or
Oh,
2.
in that regard, yes, that's good. That's a good thing.
People buying the art are the people who have money, and if they like it, they don't care. They'll pay the price.
Correct.
And I'm going, whoa.
That's the right attitude.
Right. I had seen an
That's
interview with someone. Now I don't remember her name. She's a fiber artist, but she talked about like it just brought so much clarity to me because I had seen this around the time that I was working with this gallery. And she said, I create what I want to create. There is a market. There's a market for it somewhere. And I don't think about that. I create what
It's
I want to
beautiful.
create, and the audience will be there. Maybe the audience doesn't show up for years and years and years, but like her philosophy was you don't create for the market.
I think that's right. I think if you can
I
at
agree.
all, yeah.
Having done both, I would agree with you create.
I
what-
agree. But
As
how
I-
do they find you? Like, how do they
Well,
find
see,
you,
that's
right?
what I'm saying. Like, could I be in that gallery in town? Sure. If I continue to make small things, go with the seasonal stuff, and she says, well, what, stuff that has a local tie. So we're in Lancaster County. This is a big farming area. There's a lot of Amish here. People are super into the Amish, tourists, I mean.
I know.
Not
I
me so
know.
much.
I
the
was born right
tourists.
outside of Philly. I know that
And-
area. Yeah.
So like one of the pieces that I made when I made twice for her, but one of the pieces that I made is like a barn. And the thing is, I was just like, you know what? I am not inspired by this landscape where I live. I'm not saying there's nothing inspiring here, but there's a watercolor artist here who does very well. And he is inspired by the farmland in Lancaster County.
It's pretty out there.
It is, but I don't want to paint it. I don't want to hook it. I don't want to
That's legit.
That's not your style.
like
That's right.
it's just no. And so that's where I was like, okay, I kind of felt like I was in a way selling my soul to say that I was selling, like, I don't want to create work just so I could say that I sold work.
Yes.
But then if I'm just doing what I want to do, I don't know how to Like, how would somebody find me? They wouldn't.
I think that's the challenge. That is the challenge I think that we all face. And I'm sitting here with the wheels turning, like trying to think about who could we bring in to speak to this? Like, who would be a good
Deanne.
person? You think so, Deanne? But Deanne,
No, she's beyond it. Like, I mean, I don't think she's got her feet on the ground in that respect.
I mean, I love her and I would love to have her do that. I don't know whether she would, but
I think Haley has been coached enough.
who?
Haley
Haley.
Perry. Do you think she's been coached enough by her aunt?
Haley might actually have this conversation with us.
Because she's working with her. Like Deanne was interviewed, like, oh my God, felt so bad for Robin when Robin interviewed her. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
This was it. Like, talk to me, you guys, talk to me. Yeah, she's doing an interview and Deanne's just doing her sketching. Like, she's not looking at her. She's not addressing her.
Yeah, I saw that. What was
That was
that?
so rude. And then she perked up when she mentioned Haley. Oh, that's my niece. Yeah, she's my niece. I love her.
Haley's
such a-
amazing.
It was so rude. It was, why did you
That's
say that?
that's unlike Deanne too.
I know.
It's very unlike her. So I feel like there might be something, maybe she has a reason.
I
This was
think
Robert
she's-
Whitford.
Oh,
Is
maybe.
that who it was? Was it Robert? I could.
Yeah.
So
You
there
saw
might
that,
be.
Eugene?
No, was it Robin Whitford or Deanna David?
No, it was Robin, because I don't know that other gal.
Robin
It was-
Whitford.
I felt so sorry for her, really. I thought this is just so, and it's funny, Robin maybe could have said, Deanne, if you're too busy, I'll just let you go. You can do your sketches.
So
Really?
how did that work out? Deanne had agreed to do an interview, but then wasn't fully engaged.
Not at all.
Totally.
That's very unlike her.
80% disengaged.
That's very unlike her.
I didn't watch the whole thing to the end. I was so disgusted with Deanne's behavior.
So you saw that too. I mean, it was just it was like this, like you guys, if I just came on and you're like actually gonna ask me stuff, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I had two reactions to it. One,
I'm just
she's
sketchy,
under
but-
an awful lot of emotional, mental stress, and she's freaking out right now. Or, which I can see Deanne being like that because she's had so much experience, this should be old hat by now. Or she's just plain being rude. And either way, I didn't want to watch it.
Why agree, but also those Thursday lives, I mean, I don't really love, there's an ad. In fact, it actually says advertisement under it
Yeah.
on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, people know what they're.
That's what
Tuning
that is, but
into.
she hasn't
Yeah.
even shown up a couple of times and her staff's kind of like, we don't know where she is. Right? And she gets, and she comes running in, oh, sorry, I was trying on dresses across the street. Or
She's
this,
the queen bee.
a couple of weeks ago, she just left it with one of her staff or two, and one of them just said, I just
She
said
is-
something, I don't really know what to say.
It's so unusual. Well, it's really like, I'm really amazed. I mean, is that recorded? Is it something that we can watch?
Yeah,
I might take a look at it because that, honestly, doesn't it feel like she has always been so good to me. Like I
She's
just
great.
pop into her studio, and if
She's
she's
just great.
there,
I
and
think we were dealing with someone with a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde personality.
she's probably tired. I don't doubt it. She looks some
Yeah.
of those, my friend buys inspiration sessions and she shares them with me sometimes. I actually don't even really watch them. But sometimes when I do, man, she gets on there and she just looks so tired. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like white, no makeup. I don't
Maybe
care about the
she's
makeup, but
well,
maybe I thought a few times, do you have COVID? Are you just getting over COVID? Like she just
Yeah.
looked that way, like just like,
Yeah.
oh,
she might just have so much going on.
so much going on.
But yeah. Yeah, I think I told some of the people this story about how I went in there one time, just popped in on my way. I often pop in on my way up or back because Amherst is the way in and out of Nova Scotia. And I popped in and I said to the people up front, I said, is Deanne in today? And they said, oh yeah, she's with a class. I said, okay, I don't want to, she was having one of her spa weekends where you go and you hook with Deanne and you have the,
Oh,
and And I said, "Oh, I don't want to bother her." And they're like, no, she's going to want to see you. So I went into the back, and one of my students was there for the spa weekend. It was like the funniest thing. I looked at her and she looked at me, and it was like, hey, the last time I saw you was up in Maine. So yeah, and she could not have been more welcoming that day. She was like, I said to her, I said, I don't want to interrupt your class. That I do know Avril, he was my student. But Deanne was like, oh no, sit down with us, have a, so for
I
her, I'm
think she's just spread too thin, and she probably
Yeah.
added to that.
I suspect.
Same with Robin on a bad day. She might have been really busy, and then it's just kind of like, oh,
yeah.
Well,
forgot or
the times that
whatever.
I've been in there, I don't go in there anymore, but I went in there a couple of times on trips down east when we lived out west. And she was behind the counter. I didn't know it was her the first time because it was predated
Oh, sure.
other
Yeah.
stuff. And I
Yeah.
had no idea what she looked like, but I was in there and I was just fascinated by all the different fiber there. So I was picking stuff up and feeling it, and she must have thought I was shoplifting or something.
Oh no.
But she was really cool when I came to the counter and I had like $100 of stuff, which in those days was a lot of stuff,
It's still a lot of stuff.
And I was just going to try this stuff. So I had all these little 5-yard pieces of things, that she used to sell. I don't know if she still does now.
I
And
think less. Yeah, I remember that though. She used to have Pendleton buckets. Yeah.
She was not very welcoming. I thought, well, okay.
Well, she put this online presence really strongly during COVID. That's when she started that's when she hired Angela. It was just kind of before that, I think. And it started doing all this taping of these online programs.
Oh, well, I'm glad to
And
hear there's
her
somebody else
Thursday
doing
lives and all this just started. I think she's maybe gone in a little too deep. I don't know, but
Yeah, I would
Anyway.
feel like, don't you think those Thursday lives are a lot of pressure?
Yeah.
why bother? Like, she doesn't need to do that anymore. They canceled them for a while, a couple of years ago. I
Right.
think they should-
Like during COVID, especially like that first year. Yeah, because it was the
Yeah.
only thing you could do
to get.
to get some kind of
keep things
connection. But
going. Yeah.
yeah, like I used to watch them,
Mhm.
but I don't watch them I'm done. And I've
Yeah.
been done for quite a while,
Yeah, me too.
But I
my-
am going to get going, ladies, because I have to go to FedEx to pick up a package.
All
Oh,
right.
Our
So
FedEx is very unreliable. And so the best way to deal with them is to say, just keep my package there and I'll come get it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
just since you won't be here tomorrow, is there anything in particular you want me to address tomorrow since we're recording it? Is there anything in particular that you want, or you can even message me or put it on the group, but think about anything that you want to make sure that you see on that recording.
I don't think so. I mean, I definitely want to watch it because I've only ever finished my rugs kind of one way. I do whip stitching. And I've borrowed the finishing book through AFA already and read about the framing and things. And I feel like I want to do that, but I never totally, I think that's something I just need to buckle down and figure out here. I don't think watching it would I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
If you think of anything, just pop it onto the group.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Bye,
Bye.
ladies.
See ya.
Well, maybe Haley would be, she may even be able to answer the question.
I feel like Haley might be a really good suggestion, especially having done Get Hooked at Sea with Haley. She's a really good teacher and really good at explaining things and very thoughtful. Plus, I feel like she's in that world. Like she has a studio, but it's not just a commercial studio. She also does the art side of things and has been for a long time, went to art school, all of that. So I feel like that's a great suggestion.
Well, I mean, it would be interesting to hear, and I mean, and also just in our conversation about how do people find us, I guess that's where, I mean, not everybody's on social media, obviously. In fact, a lot of people are avoiding it now purposely.
Yeah.
None of my kids are on it. None of my, Rick's not on it. I'm gonna make him a website finally, because he didn't even want that. But yesterday he said, these pictures are pretty nice. Maybe let's get a website. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But so, but there are people who are on social media, and I don't know.
And Haley handles social media very well also. She could
Okay.
probably give tips about finding people through that avenue as well as other avenues, just because I think her social media is quite effective.
Okay.
I
I'll
think
have to
she
look
has,
at her. I haven't-
yeah, she's got a great Instagram page. She makes short videos. She has a YouTube channel that I have referred students to. If she's got a
Okay.
video up about something that I don't have the video up, I've referred people to her YouTube. She's got beautiful videos. So I feel like she really has a pretty good handle on
Mhm.
marketing and finding your audience.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's a good
one-
suggestion.
One venue, one avenue to go down and see, yeah.
All right, I will check that out.
But thanks a lot. I'm gonna go, I have to remove my leg. I'm waiting for a knee replacement. Geez, I wonder, speaking of our healthcare system, 2 to 3 years.
Oh, I know.
Anyway, I haven't even heard from the surgeon. I was referred last summer. I haven't even heard from that doctor. So people say, are you on the list? Well, I'm on the list to talk to a surgeon to get on the list. But meanwhile, if I sit too long, it starts
Yeah.
to ease up. But thanks so much, you guys. And
Okay.
maybe tomorrow,
Okay,
maybe
see you,
tomorrow,
Nancy.
I'll
Bye-bye.
have my frame. And if not, I'm gonna source my stuff right now, actually. And I think I've got an old pair of curtains I could rip up. They're polyester, but they're from good old Winners. But they have a shimmer and they have a,
Yeah.
anyway, thanks a lot. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay,
bye, Nancy.
all right.
I should probably go and let you go too. It's 4:00.
I'm gonna hit stop record.
Okay.